everybody, welcome back to the channel. So I've been inspired lately by my 13-year-old son, who is learning how to play the guitar, to do some beginner guitar lessons. And I was talking with him and I said, oh hey, this would be a cool idea, right? And he goes, yeah, because there's probably a bunch of kids like me who are trying to search YouTube and find beginner guitar lessons. This is 2020 if you're watching in the future, and we are in lockdown because of a pandemic virus. So we've got nothing but free time on our hands, and so there may be some kids who are picking up their parents' guitars or whatever, trying to learn, and searching YouTube for beginner guitar lessons. There's a plethora of beginner guitar lessons out there. But I just wanted to take my channel and be able to funnel that and be helpful to some people who might want to learn. So I will say this: if you're watching this video and you're like, oh my gosh, this is so basic, then these aren't for you. These are for people who are just starting out and wanting to start. And so I have other content on my channel for you if you're more an intermediate or advanced guitar player that would really be helpful for you. But this is going to be strictly for beginners, and I've actually asked my son if he wouldn't mind coming on the channel and doing online guitar lessons with me, so you can kind of see how I would teach an actual beginner. And so if you're sitting at home watching these videos getting kind of frustrated, like, man, my fingers won't do it, he's gonna be here doing the exact same thing. So in a couple of videos from now, we're gonna do that, and it's gonna be a lot of fun. But today what I thought I would do is just go over very simply what I go over with every beginner guitar student that I ever start out with, and that is there's three parts to a first lesson. There's the understanding of this instrument, what it is, what the different parts of it are, and being able to talk about it intelligibly. Part two is all about what all the open tuning of the strings are, the notes, and making sure your guitar's in tune. And then part three of the introductory lesson is learning a couple of chords, and learning how to fret a note and multiple notes and a couple of chords that you can start working on to pass the time until the next lesson. Okay, so let's get right into it. Part one of the very first lesson is knowing the guitar, and so we're going to go step by step, walk you all the way through all of the different parts of the guitar, what the names are of them, so you can not only talk intelligibly about them, but you can know when I say something or when I reference a part of the guitar, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Okay, so we'll start up here. This is known as the headstock. It's where the strings come and where they are tightened to pitch, to tune. So there's usually a logo up here of whatever brand name of the guitar is. Some guitars, like Taylor guitars like this one, have this little piece here. Some electric guitars have it up here too. That's where the truss rod is adjusted. Okay, so I'll get to that when I talk about the neck, but that's what that little piece is there. And these are called tuning machines. And these, if your guitar is like this and it has three on the top, three on the bottom, turning them counterclockwise to you will tighten. Turning them clockwise will loosen here, and then it's the same but opposite from you're thinking of this way. Turning them this way loosens them, turning them this way tightens them. Okay, so that's important to know. That's the head. Right here, this little thing right here, this is called the nut. And this is where the strings pass over this, and that's where it gives you that first open. Yes, if we did not have a nut, you wouldn't hear this. You would hear all over the place. Okay, so you need that thing right there. This is a very important part of the guitar. It's called the nut. Then moving on, we have, this is called the neck of the guitar. So if this is the head, this is the neck of the guitar. And then on top of the neck, up here, this is called, this little board here that's goes all the way up here, is called the fingerboard. And on the fingerboard there are these little silver metal things, and they're called frets. And so some people call this the fretboard, while other people call this the fingerboard. The frets, actually, when you press behind them, that's what creates your notes. It shortens the string and it creates your notes. So and there are all, sometimes 21, sometimes 20, sometimes 22 on electric guitar, sometimes less. This one has 17, 18, 19, 20 frets on it. Okay, so you don't need to know all the numbers of all that. You just need to know your guitar, how many frets it has. Go ahead and count them. Trying to see how many there are, and that'll help you as we begin to play. When I reference, on the 5th fret, you'll begin to know as you go on in the course. Oh, the 5th fret is up here. 3rd fret, it's here. 7th fret, here. 9th fret, 10th fret, and so on. Okay, so that's later on. But those are called the frets. These little dots here, those are fret markers, and they tell you where you're at. And they also, a lot of guitars have them right on the top there, these little dots. And these will just help you know where the 3rd, the 5th, the 7th, the 9th, and the 12th fret, and then so on up the neck of the guitar. And they just help you, so when you're looking down, you kind of know positionally where you are, right? So that's that, and then you go up to, this is the body of the guitar, this part right here, all the way around. There's the face of the body. There's the sound hole. That's what this is. For an acoustic guitar, electric guitars don't have that. They have pickups. But this is the sound hole. There's usually a pick guard. This has a pick guard on it. It's just clear. You can't see it. You can hear it when I do that. And that just guards your guitar from your pick and not scratching it up. This right here is called the bridge. Okay? And this little piece running across here on an acoustic guitar, this is called the saddle. Okay? And the saddle. And that's where it goes across the saddle, goes up, it goes across the nut again, and that's what gives it its sound. And these little pins here, these on an acoustic guitar, you pull these out when you want to change strings. You put them back in when you don't tighten the string up. Some acoustic guitars have electronics in them. We don't need to go over that. But just know that if your acoustic guitar has electronics, you can plug it in and it can play over a PA system, an amplifier, all that kind of stuff. And these are called the strings. Of course. My son started calling them the chords, and I was like, no, you can't call them the chords. These are the guitar strings. All right, I think that's all. All right, now on to phase 2 of our beginning guitar lesson. You know what, I realized all through phase 1 that my guitar actually was out of tune. It didn't, it was tuned down half a step, and so it wasn't in tune. It sounded in tune, but it really wasn't. So I'm going to show you how to tune your guitar real quick, and I'm going to show you the notes for it. You can actually, one of my favorite guitar tuners that I use is actually for the acoustic guitar, especially when I can't get to a one that you plug into or even clip on. But I always have my phone with me, so I go to it's guitarforbeginners.com. They actually have an online guitar tuner, and you just press on the little string, and it gives you the pitch of the note. So I did that for this E top stringer here, and I tuned it up to pitch. So you'll need to know, before we tune, the names of all the strings, the note names for all of them. So the first one is E. That's the low string, that's E. The second one is A. Okay, that's the note name for the second string. The third string is D. The next string is G. The next string is B. And the final bottom string is E. It's the octave. Okay, so you know your guitar is really in tune when you can play with both of those, and they're the exact same note, just an octave apart. Now this one, if you can listen to it, they are not the same. One of the ways you can tell is just by the ear test. They don't sound the same, but also if you listen very carefully, there's a little warble in the note, and you can actually hear it. It sounds like wong 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 wong. And when you tune to the pitch, you don't want that. You don't want any warble in the note at all. You want it to be very solid straight across, and that's how you know you're in tune with the strings. Okay, so how you do this, there's multiple ways of doing it, but we're just going to do the easy way first. Okay, so the easiest way is to go on the website or have a tuner and just click through, and it tells you right where pitch is. But if you don't have that and you have one of the strings in tune, you can actually, there's a method to tuning your guitar that will help. Okay, so remember I told you about those frets and those markers? find the second dot or the 5th fret, and I want you to press down the string right there and get that note right there on the 5th fret. That is the A note, okay? And so we're gonna tune, because that top string is now in tune, we're gonna tune this next string, the 2nd string, to that note, okay? So here we go, ready? Not in tune. And you can hear that warble, right? Okay, so we're gonna tune it. Until we're listening for the warble, until that goes away. And it's in tune. Next note. We're gonna do the exact same thing. We're gonna go to the 5th fret on that 2nd string, because that's the D, and that should be in tune with the next string, which is the D string. Same thing, not in tune. So do the same thing here. All right, next one, same thing. 5th fret. That's gonna give us our G note, because this next string is the G note, okay? So now we need to go here, and we need to pretty close. All right, here's the tricky one. The next one, we don't go down to the 5th, we go to the 4th. On the 4th string, remember, that's easy to remember. 4th string, 4th fret, okay? And that's gonna give us our B note, which will tune our B string, okay? 4th string, 4th fret, B note. Oh, you can really hear it bad on that one, listen. All right, so we need to tune that. Close. And sometimes you go past it and you got to go backwards. And then finally, the last one, you go back to the 5th fret and you have to tune that bottom string. This gives you the E note, which is going to tune the E string. All right, so all right, we're in tune. Great. So now you know the names of all the strings: E, A, D, G, B, and then E. And we know how to tune our guitar to make sure it's in tune. Phase 3 of our first lesson is learning a couple of chords. Now, the very first chord that I teach everybody is the A chord. A chord is probably one of the easiest chords to learn, and there are actually multiple ways to play it. The way that they teach you, if you pick up a book, like I picked up a book a long time ago by a guy named Mel Bay, really old, back when I started learning, and they taught how to play the A chord in a very weird way that I don't play at all, and I barely ever see anybody playing it this way. They would teach you to take your middle finger, and everything has got to be jammed on the 2nd fret, okay? So they would take your middle finger and go to the 4th string, the D string, and press on the 2nd fret. Take your 1st finger and press it right here on the 3rd string, the G string, on the 2nd fret. And then take your 3rd finger and press it on the 2nd fret on the D string, on the 2nd fret right there. So they're all jammed in there together on the 2nd fret. and then you would start with this note. You mute, take your thumb, and you're gonna mute the top string, because you don't play that. And then play all these notes. And that's the way that I learned at the very beginning. Okay, that's the Melbay way, or whatever you want to call it, for playing the A chord. I don't ever play it that way. Then I learned it this way. Instead of doing this weird wacky with your first finger in the middle, I just stacked all of my fingers 1, 2, 3 right on top of each other. Mute the top string, because if you don't, it just sounds bad. Because your chord is based off the root, and your root is the A note up here at the top, okay? So you can play the A chord that way, stacking all your 3 fingers, 1, 2, 3, leaving the bottom string open, and the A note open, and muting the E string at the top with your thumb. Now you can play it that way. This is going to be a highly frustrating way, I'm telling you right now, because it's going to take a while to get all those fingers jammed in there together. Now if you're younger and you have smaller hands and smaller fingers, it's probably easier to get them in there. But it takes a lot of practice getting them all in there and getting them like side by side without fret buzzing, because it usually sounds like this a lot at the beginning. And if it sounds like that for you, don't worry about it. Okay, we're learning. We're getting a little bit better, right? So every day, the more you practice, the more you can figure it out, the better it's going to sound, the better it's going to get. We're just trying to get some consistency here, right? So if it sounds like that at the beginning, don't worry. It's not going to sound like that in the end. An easy trick to learn for an A chord is actually to play what's called an A2. So instead of stacking all 3 of your fingers there, what you're going to do is you're going to take your middle finger and your ring finger, and you're going to put your middle finger on the 4th string, the D string, and the 2nd fret, and take your ring finger and put it right underneath it there on the 3rd string, the G string, on the 2nd fret. And then mute that top string and play this. It's called an A2. I like it. It sounds a lot nicer. It has that B in it. It's easier to play. The 4th option of playing the A chord is with 1 finger. And this is harder to do, but it's actually easier when you play other notes. And you play it, your first finger like this, and you can mute the top here, but you press down all of the strings, and the bottom one is actually muted then. You don't play that. You do it that way. So 4 different ways you can play it. You can play it like this, you can play it like this, you can play it A2, or you can play it barred. But that's A. So I usually teach it with A2 because we're going to go to the next chord, which is the E minor chord. And all you do is take those 2 fingers and move them up 1 string, same fret. So you're going to be on the 5th and the 4th string, which is the A string and the D string, on the 2nd fret, and you're going to play all the strings now. This is the E minor chord, okay? And so what I try to teach, have my students do, is to go from the A2 chord to the E minor chord. And the reason I want them to do that is because, number one, I want them to figure out, what I want them to do is to figure out switching between chords, because that's going to be important. And it's an easy switch because you're not moving fingers around or anything. You're just literally moving positions. Same fingers, different string positions, same fret. So it's an easy switch. And what I want you to practice in your strumming is going to feel a lot different than mine at the beginning. That's okay. But what I want you to work on is in between a switch, between that chord, the A2, and between the E minor, I want you to work on what's called, I call it a pickup. Other teachers call it different things, but in between those 2 notes, that when you're moving your hands off the strings, it's okay to strum. Okay, so watch what I'm doing here. it's okay to do that because when you're playing and you're getting faster at your switches, you barely hear it. Like, but what it does is it keeps you in time and it keeps your rhythm going. Okay, so A2, practice that one, and then E minor, practice that. All right, well, that's your first guitar lesson, and go practice those chords, to practice tuning your guitar. You can go on that website, you can tune up your guitar that way, or you can do it the way I showed you. And then try to name all the parts of your guitar, and try to remember, like, I remember at the very beginning I had to use the cheat sheet, but after a while you just get to know it so well that you just know it. And I would love for you to memorize all the parts on your guitar so that when you're talking about it, you know what it all is and what it all does, okay? Yeah, so there it is, first lesson. Enjoy, and we'll see you back for lesson number 2 here shortly.